Now, former ANC President Thabo Mbeki says that the country needs quality political leaders. He addressed party members in the Free State as part of his renewal drive. The former leader is being hailed as a champion for unity in the ANC. And it seems so more than the current President Cyril Ramaphosa. So what is it that our current president is missing? Well, let's pose that question to political analyst Lukhona Mngun. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Perhaps let's start with that very question in terms of what is it about Cyril Ramaphosa that makes him miss the mark when it comes to this issue of the renewal of the ANC?
Well, I think there is a sense that he is missing in action as an active driver for unity and renewal in the ANC. So when they left Nasrec in 2017, this was the key task that his leadership would undertake going forward into the structures of the ANC, rebuilding the branches of the ANC and so on. The real question for me is whether or not the president has done enough or ought to have done more in the last 4 years since his election at Nasrec. If you look at the opportunities that have been there, for example, to go to structures outside of what some people say during the electioneering period, he was meeting with structures, or when he goes and addresses a conference, that's very much outside those events that you deliberately create avenues for this unity and renewal. So, for example, they've attempted to put an online membership system, which has its own glitches, but some people say it's beginning to contain a few things that were problematic in structures in terms of gatekeeping of some people, making sure that others are unable to join or they are unable to reflect their renewed membership, and they would gatekeep the registry of members at a local level. But I think unity and renewal is much more than that. And the elephant in the room, as some people call it, is that in fact there's no unity amongst the very former leaders of the ANC. So why haven't we seen attempts, to bring together former President Jacob Zuma and President Ramaphosa into a dialogue? Because supporters who come from the membership of the ANC draw their inspiration at times from the people they support. I mean, if you talk to former leaders in KwaZulu-Natal who used to be at loggerheads, Sbu Ndebele and Zweli Mkhize, they tell you that, these two comrades had to meet. And once they had met, they went back to tell the structures that we have actually met and we have ironed out our issues and we are calling for unity in the province. And the funny story is that some members didn't know what to do now because they said, but I profit from your divisions because that's how I got into this seat. But once you unite the people who are seen as the cause of the divisions, you actually get more traction in fostering unity in an organization.
And it's not just about fostering that unity within the organization, Lukhona. One thing that the former President Thabo Mbeki stressed when he was making his address is that South Africa is in crisis mode because of the lack of unity that currently exists within the ANC, given that they are the governing party of South Africa. So while it might fix things within the party, it also might create some kind of sustainable growth and just the betterment of livelihoods for South Africans should these issues be ventilated and resolved within the party.
Well, that's an interesting proposition. Look, the presence or lack thereof unity within the ANC does not force anybody to become a thief when they are deployed to government. South Africa is in a crisis because the ANC no longer has a strong cohort of cadres who respect the values of the ANC, but most importantly, who respect the dictates of our constitution and the oath of office they take as public representatives. So part of a section of public representatives deployed by the ANC to various structures of our governance is that they are corrupt and they are stealing from the public purse.
So then, Lukhona, where does this good leadership that former President Thabo Mbeki is calling for then come from? Because you're saying that the current leadership is corrupt, really shouldn't be running any state department. But at the same time, the former president is saying we need good leaders. Where on earth are they going to come from?
Well, I feel sorry for the former president at times, in the sense that I do believe that he's a little nostalgic about an ANC that he knew that no longer exists and possibly isn't going to exist in the next decade or 2 decades to come. But I understand why, as a congressman, he would want to be seen as doing something to resuscitate or salvage the little that is there in this ANC. You will know the ANC, when they left Mangaung in 2012, they declared the decade of the cadre. And they did this because they understood that the ANC is actually infiltrated by all sorts of individuals who don't epitomize the type of leadership, the type of membership that the ANC actually wants. And therefore, they were going to use the last 10 years to build this cadre. But when I talk to a number of senior leaders in the ANC as to what is it that they've done to build this cadre, they can't give you much. And this is the problem with the ANC. It actually knows what is wrong with it. It actually knows some of the culprits who are responsible for what is wrong with it. But it seems so paralyzed to act against those individuals and to bring about that which is correct at the center of the movement.
Right then, so how do they navigate the road to December, the conference that they'll be hosting? Because ultimately, this is the first stem of preparation for 2024. Given that paralysis that you've just spoken about, how do they even begin to navigate the outcomes of that conference and making sure that they are a strong enough movement to gain some of that lost votership that has occurred?
Well, I mean, referencing former President Thabo Mbeki, you would have heard him quite bewildered, really, as to why is it that it's February and we're already talking about conference and lobbying about, second terms and all of these things, rather than attending to the key issues that the ANC in government should be. Questions of service delivery, making sure that the pothole road in Mangaung that I'm sure he had to drive through, we all drive through it, when we go to Bloemfontein, and it's quite scary, really, how infrastructure can deteriorate to that extent. But people in government, like Premier Stan Matabata in Limpopo, being concerned about sparking debate about a second term for President Ramaphosa rather than attending to service delivery problems. So how does the ANC navigate this year? Well, they will continue to be in a state of paralysis because, in actual fact, one of the things that is missing in the ANC is just simple respect for each other. The leaders in the ANC no longer respect each other. They drag each other through the media. They drag each other through their own party structures in a variety of ways that some, like Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, if you look at the Sunday World's front page, she's blasting the Integrity Commission for double standards. Why do you focus on me and you let others go when they are also said to be doing work that is quite divisive and work that does not foster this unity we talk about? And it is that factionalized environment. Once you always have to hold factions together, principle is going to fall out of the window, because factions by themselves inherently are interest-based groups within the party, and therefore you must navigate the interests rather than the principles of the party. And that makes you take the eye off the ball in terms of the party's constitution, in terms of the party's resolutions, in terms of the party's aspirations, because you are trying to hold unity in the sense of making sure that individuals get along and you navigate and negotiate their interests. And that's not how you foster unity. You make sure that principle is the foundation of all unity. And there must be a driver in the executive that is current. Former President Thabo Mbeki can only do so much, but what are those in the top 6 doing to foster unity, to discipline those who are outside the realm of that framework of unity they have defined for themselves? And if they can't pull each other back from that brink of factionalism, unfortunately, whatever outcome comes out in 2022 will not give citizens the kind of confidence that the ANC is a well-oiled machine that can deliver to its promises come 2024 when people have to vote. And that's why citizens, in fact, if you've scanned various social media and other media where people are calling into radio, they disagree with former President Mbeki that the ANC is too big to fail. they say you are imposing problems of the ANC to the country. As the country, we shall remain fine. We will find alternatives outside of the ANC if such a need arises.
No, absolutely. We have run out of time, Lukhona, but I can't let you go without reflecting on what's likely to be unfolding tomorrow as suspended Secretary General S. Magashula's trial continues. Masego Rahlaga spoke to him this morning and he said he's guilty of absolutely nothing and he's actually looking forward to be in the dock tomorrow to prove that he's guilty of nothing. Your thoughts on this trial and the fact that he just pronounces that he shouldn't be blamed, it should be the entire party, the entire cabinet. They all did it together. It wasn't just one person. That is the argument that he's put forward.
Well, these are tricky issues, really. I mean, I've had the chance to interview the suspended Secretary General of the ANC, S. Magashule, and one of the things that we tussled about when I interviewed him was really this idea that he's only charged with oversight. So you need to show him his indictment so that he understands the nature of the corruption charges and alternative charges that are placed before him, and not just mere oversight, which is said to be flimsy by the top six. He's quite okay there. I've heard Gwede Mandashe actually saying, look, he's accused number 13. We don't think it's that serious. He was on an interview in Umhlobo, in case he's listening and he wants a reference point. But the point is that tomorrow there might just be another technicality about the exchange of particulars, the exchange of documents, the exchange of witness records, and all of that. As you heard him say to Masego that he's not delaying. It's what the NPA pumps up ahead of any appearance. But the question really is there an expeditious way of exchanging, notes? Because at some point we were told that his former PA is actually a state witness, and only for it to come even with leaked audio to demonstrate that she's actually not a state witness. So there seems to be mishandling of the case, even from the state side, which of course would affect the credibility or the quickness at which this matter can be resolved before the court.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. That's political analyst Lukhona Mngun, ventilating some of the issues that were highlighted by former President Thabo Mbeki, as well as that trial of S. Magashule that continues from tomorrow. Many thanks for your time this morning.